First, let me offer my welcome to all of you and to open this conference on the...
Let me turn the microphone on.
Sorry?
Okay. There you go.
Okay. Allow me to welcome all of you to this conference on the labor and political situation in Cuba, which is jointly sponsored by the Committee for Free Trade Unionism and the International Group for Corporate Social Responsibility. And allow me at the top to thank Pepe Collado and Joe Brito and Jack Otero and Richard Torres and Lourdes Kisler for all the work that's gone into preparing this meeting. I'm delighted to see Carmelo Diaz, the Secretary General of the Independent Confederation of Workers of Cuba, who is here, and as well Roberto de Miranda, the President of the Colegio de Pedagogicos of Cuba. Both of them have only been granted exit visas within the last 2 months and have just arrived in Miami, so we're delighted to have them with us for this occasion. I had the pleasure of visiting Carmelo in Havana some years ago in his home, and so I'm delighted to see him again and see him looking so well. We're going to hear from both of them and from Pedro Pablo Alvarez, the Secretary General of the Unitary Council of Cuban Workers, who was released from jail in 2008 and was exiled to Spain and has also only recently moved his headquarters from Spain to Miami. All three of them are heroes of the Cuban workers' struggle for free and independent unions. We're waiting for some of our guests from Latin America. They will be joining us as the meeting goes along, and more of them will be with us tomorrow. I want to note at the outset also our pleasure that the Executive Director of the Schenker Institute, Eugenia Kemble, is here with us today. For any of you who are not familiar with it, the Schenker Institute was created by the American Federation of Teachers, one of the largest unions in the AFL-CIO, to honor its former president, who was himself an outstanding trade union leader and a democracy activist. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Aimel Rios, the program officer for the National Endowment for Democracy for Latin America and the Caribbean. I thank you both for your support and for being with us today. And I want to also acknowledge the support for this conference of the 21st Century International Ladies Garment Workers Foundation, which has helped us in putting on the conference. Our meetings tomorrow are going to explore the whole range of political and economic developments in Cuba as the government moves to try to improve its reputation abroad through the recent prisoner releases and as it attempts to rescue its socialist economy in the same way that so many capitalists do by firing the workers. Only in Cuba, the drastic plans, call for firing 500,000 to 1 million people and thrusting them into an economy that cannot support them has now been recognized as such folly that the implementation of the program has been delayed by the government over the past 5 or 6 months. And so we await next month's convening of the Communist Party Congress in Cuba to see what new solutions might be offered to relieve the misery and the hunger that haunts the Cuban people. But this afternoon, we have brought together the General Secretaries of the Independent Union Federations and the President of the Teachers Union of Cuba, so we could hear from them firsthand accounts of the strength of independent trade unionism in Cuba. As I noted, 2 of them, Carmelo Diaz and Roberto de Miranda, have arrived here only within the last month, and Pedro Pablo in the 2 or 3 months before that. We're delighted to have all of them here in Miami. And I also should acknowledge the General Secretary of CONIC, Aurelio Bacchier, who was going to be with us today, but unfortunately is unable to make the trip from Connecticut. But Aurelio sends his greetings and asks that I express his solidarity to everyone here. With that, I just have one other item of housekeeping, and that is to bring to your attention a letter from the Australian Workers' Union of March 2, in which the National Secretary of the Union, Paul Howes, acknowledges our invitation to attend this conference and notes that he's unable to travel from Australia to be here. But he says, I wanted to send you and all involved with organizing the conference my best wishes for the success and my sincere thanks for your work in bringing the conference together. The recent uprisings against the dictatorships in North Africa and the Middle East are a powerful reminder of what can be achieved when workers, unions, and civil society organizations join together to fight for freedom, liberty, and democracy. I know it is only a matter of time before the spirit of freedom, spreading now across the Middle East, makes its way to Cuba. I remain in constant admiration of the brave men and women in Cuba who stand against the Castro regime, which has imprisoned their island for far too long. As always, I remain available to assist in any way I can to provide assistance to the free and independent unions in Cuba, fighting for the rights that we who live in democracies take for granted. Once again, all the best for the conference, and I look forward to hearing about the outcomes of your deliberations. Paul Howes has been a consistent help to us and has provided financial assistance to some of the trade unionists in Cuba. With that, let me introduce Joel Brito, who's sitting at the end of the table there, for anybody who doesn't know Joel. He and Pepe Collado hold down the Miami end of this effort. And Joel Brito is an outstanding trade union figure and leader who's more than any other single man leads this struggle to assist the independent unions in Cuba. Joel is going to be the interlocutor for the panel this afternoon, and so I would turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you.